What's up, y'all? So, in today's lesson, you are learning about how to use different coordinate systems. If we remember from our geometry days, a coordinate system is simply just your x and y axes. Your x axis goes left and right, and your y axis goes up and down. Just to blow your mind for a second, there's a third axis that you guys probably have never talked about. X, Y, and what comes after Y? Z, the Z axis. It is 3D. So as you can see, if you click this little home button at the top, so I'm going to go back. So now we're back to normal view. Come up here to the little top, click the house button, and now we have 3D. If you click anywhere on this cube, you can drag the cube around, and that kind of drags your view around too. So you can see that your X goes left and right on the paper, your Y goes up and down on the paper, and the Z literally pops out of the paper. So we will probably get to that later, although I do not think that is needed for the certification that you guys are going to get. But for those of you who will design 3D objects, hopefully we'll get around to the 3D printer, you will be making things in 3D. But let's go back to 2D. So if you're in this view, in the 3D view, go ahead and you can see the little sections on this cube. It kind of highlights. Click top. So click this little blue square top, and it brings you right back to where you were. If your axes are not facing the right way, then there are these little arrows at the top right. So now it's upside down, so I'm going to put it right side up. You just click these little rotation arrows up here. Okay, so now we're back to normal. That was just a cool teaser for you guys. Now let's talk about what actually is on the certification exam. So the first thing I want you guys to do is type in DS. And DS will bring us to D settings. So I want you to click D settings. And you will see a bunch of tabs up here at the top. I want you to click dynamic input. Once you click dynamic input, you should see these three windows. Go ahead and under the pointer input window, click settings. Okay, so here we are. We're just going to talk about these four options here. So you can have either polar format or Cartesian format. Let's review our geometry knowledge. So polar basically means anything that has to do with an angle or a rotation or a circle. Polar means something that rotates around a given point. Cartesian is what you guys learned back in pre-algebra. You just plug in the 2 points. So like your x value is 3 and your y value is 2. And so you go to the right 3 and you go up 2. So this is Cartesian format. It's the one that you guys learned the first time at the very beginning of your algebra days. Polar format is what we've already been doing in class a couple of times, where you type in the length of the line, and then you click tab, and then it lets you put in the angle for the line that you want. So that's polar format whenever you use the tab button to put in the angle. And Cartesian is where you don't put in an angle, and it's just your x value and your y value. And then that's how the system knows where to put the next point. Okay, so about this, it really doesn't matter which one is turned on, because no matter if you have this one on or if you have this one on, you can really use both. You can really use both of them anytime. no matter which one is turned on. So I'm just going to keep the polar format on, and I'm just going to click OK, and then click OK again. I'm going to show you how. I'm going to click pan, escape. All right. So I'm going to click L, click enter, and then 0, 0. So here's how you guys have done this several times before. So I want a line that has a length of 1 and an angle of 30 degrees. So I'm just going to type in 1 and then click tab, and it brings me straight to my angle. All right, 30, enter. I'm going to do it again, line. So I just type L, start my first point at 0, 0, enter. I'm going to do 1, tab, let's do 60 degrees. There we go. So you guys have done this before. Well, that was using the polar coordinate systems. So you guys already know how to use polar. Sorry. Let me delete that. Now I'm going to do it the Cartesian style. Cartesian. It's a big word, but it's simple. You guys already know what Cartesian is. You just didn't know that it was called Cartesian. So I'm going to type line. Again, 0, 0, enter. And instead of putting an angle, I'm going to put my first point. So I want it to be, I want to go to the right 2 and then up 1. So let's see, 2, 1, enter. Okay, so it seems that 2 blocks equals 1 unit. So we go over 1, 2, and then up 1. Easy enough, right? I'm going to do a couple more. Line, and I don't have to start it at 0, 0. I'm gonna start off where I ended on the last line. So my first point is gonna be 2, 1. Okay. So now it's connected to my previous line, and I'm gonna go down to this point, whatever this point is. So it looks like it's gonna be -1. And then comma 0. No. My apologies, is 0, because the first number is the x direction. So I don't, if I want to go straight down to here, I don't want to go left or right. So I type in 0, comma, and then -1. -1. There we go. And I'm going to make my last line. I'm just going to complete this triangle. So I want to start it right here. So what's this point? Let's try to memorize. So this point is, so if we remember, it's 1, 2 in the x direction, and it's 0 in the y direction. So this point is 2, 0. So I'm going to start my line at 2, 0, enter. And now I want to connect it back to the origin. So 0, 0, enter. Okay, 0, 0. Why is that not working? 0, 0. Well, you get the point. So that's Cartesian. Is when you just put in the points, and then polar is when you just put in the length of the line and then the angle that you want it at. So just keep that in mind. All right, let's move on to the next part of this lesson. So DS again, so it stands for D settings. So let's go to our D settings. And it already has the dynamic input tab pulled out for me. So dynamic input, pointer input. We just talked about polar format and Cartesian format. And as I stated earlier, it doesn't really matter which one you click for now. You can use, you just saw me use both of them. All right, let's talk about relative coordinates. So you guys have probably heard the term relative. Some people like debating about whether truth is relative or whether truth is absolute. So relative means with respect to your last point. I'm going to say that one more time. Relative means with respect to your last point. So I'll show you what that, and then absolute means that the coordinates you are inputting are always with respect to the origin. So this is with respect to your last point, and this is with respect to the origin. So I'm going to show you relative. I'm going to create a line. I'm going to start it at 0, 0. And then we're going to go to 1, 1. 1, 1. All right, there we go. Now, if I do 1, 1 again, do you think it'll bring me straight back to the same point? Or do you think it'll bring me somewhere up there? Well, let's do it. 1, 1. Hey, it brought me somewhere up there. So I'm going to show you guys what I mean by that. So we have our first line is here, and our second line is right there. So, that's interesting. I typed in the point 1, 1, and it brought me from the origin to here. And then if I type in 1, 1, it doesn't bring me to the same point. It brings me to 1 to the right and 1 up from my last point. Let me zoom out a little bit. Okay, so let me start a. Oops. Okay, let me do 1, 1 again. As you can see, it just keeps building in the same direction with the same length. 1, 1, so that just means it goes to the right one and then up one, to the right one and then up one. So let's go back to D settings. Relative coordinates is always with respect to your last point. Now let's click absolute coordinates. Okay. What if I'm going to delete these 2 lines here. I'm going to try to connect, well, no. I'm going to see if it builds. So if it keeps, I'm going to type in 1, 1 again. It didn't go 1 to the right and 1 up anymore. It didn't do that. I was expecting it to go up somewhere. Well, it didn't do that because now we are in the absolute coordinate system, which means that if I type in a point, it will bring me to that point relative to the origin. So you notice that I started here, I typed in 1, 1, and it brought me to the actual point labeled 1, 1, because this is 1 to the right and 1 up from the origin. So that's the difference between absolute and relative coordinate systems. So just make sure you know that, and have a nice day.